Well, hello. Here's a short walk around video of the MGB and Frank helping me, as you can see. Since everyone seems to want a bit of commentary with these cars, I thought I'd say a little bit about it. I've owned this for probably 4.5 years after it was given to me by a family member. And this is the first week it's actually been on the road in my ownership with an MOT. Which took a little bit of doing, as I'm sure you can understand, for an old car that's been off the road. The last time it was MOT'd was roughly around 2012. Well, not roughly, it was 2012. And before that, there's no trace of it on the online checker, and I've got to go through the paperwork. So the likelihood is it's not done more than, well, now 400 miles in about 20 years, since it didn't look like it had been on the road in any time recently. There's been quite a bit of going through it to get it on the road, a lot of suspension work, bushes, all that kind of thing, getting it back running, brakes, sorting those out as well, and of course some rust, which if you look up close there's still some rust bubbling coming through everywhere. It's not the prettiest of cars, it's what MOT testers like to hate because they're a bit of a patchwork quilt underneath. But that's what cars are, old cars especially, ones that are used or ones that are left up sitting for a while. They're never going to be pristine, and nor should they be really. I think one of my favourite things is probably to show you the rust. There's more bits of paint that have been falling off as I've been driving this weekend. I've done about 100 miles since I've been back on the road. Is that lovely sound of just rust. It's nice. And little bits fall out a bit, but that's okay. I filled it up last night when I left work, the first time I was going to bring it home, and it promptly chucked a load of fuel over the forecourt as well, so it's probably got some filler issue. But it drives really nicely actually. It should do after the amount we spent on it and the amount of work and new parts. Really, it's got a lot underneath, and it's got brand new Bridgestones on it, which are probably the most expensive tyre for the size, but it's worth having good tyres, especially on an old car. I drove it home and it was getting dark, and that's when I discovered I had no dash lights. My temperature gauge doesn't work, nor does my rev counter, and pretty much it. There's a couple of little issues with it, but nothing too major to stop it driving really, and it drives nicely, stops nicely, goes nicely. The throttle's a little bit sticky sometimes, but if you give it a blip it will sort itself out really. For anyone who's got a modern 2+2 coupe and your kids complain about how much legroom they've got in the back, maybe you should take them to have a look at an MGB, because this is absolutely tiny. This bench seat's really pointless. I may take it out at some point, but we're a way away from doing anything like that at the moment. I think we're just going to drive it and use it, and since getting it out this weekend we've done about 100 miles in it, so which isn't a lot really, but it's nice to get it on the road, and it's nice to drive something that's proper classic again, and old school bit of driving, life in the slow lane I suppose you call it. And it's nice to go a bit slower sometimes. There's Frank, who likes old cars, putting nice grubby full prints all over the car. Thanks mate. Right, so well, that sounds like it's working. When I first got the car, it was originally gifted to me as I was going to do a banger rally with some friends, and that fell through, and it sat up for years and years and years. Well, not years and years and years, but enough. And originally I'd planned to put a V8 in it, and then after having owned and sold a V8, which I didn't like the way it drove to be honest, it was just a standard Rover V8, but it wasn't really much quicker, it wasn't really very nice to drive in my opinion, and this handles better, although you can make a V8 handle, but it just wasn't very special. And so I keep considering whether I'd do much to change this, whether I'd put an Alfa or a Lotus twin cam in it, which would be nice, or whether I should just do something like this. And one of the considerations is what you can do with an MG engine, but there's quite a lot, so plans for the future. Electronic ignition's a nice thing. It's means it just starts a little bit easier, and it runs quite nicely to be fair. Let's give it a little run. This is when it probably won't start. Nice. A little sprinkling of rust in the passenger. Where that's came from I don't know. And the front well, yeah. It's a fun little thing. So it may become more of a project and I may do some changing things, but hopefully for now we'll just drive it and see where we get to, and maybe change that front bumper, which I didn't do. I'll add. I could do a lot of body work to it, but it's a case of whether I should spend the money on it and do it, or whether I just enjoy it as it is and use it, because it's not pretty, but it's not too bad. So we'll see. Thanks, bye.